And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another movie review. Today, I'm reviewing Scary Movie 5. For now, at least, the final entry in this franchise. And I say for now because somebody decided it was a good idea to make a sixth one of these movies, and it's coming out next year. Not happy about that. But this one, Scary Movie 5, came out in 2013. So it's a long gap between Scary Movie 4 and 5. You had just a 1 year gap between 1 and 2, and then a 2 year gap between 2 and 3, and then you had a 3 year gap between 3 and 4. But then we jumped to a 7 year gap, continuity wise, but this movie doesn't know continuity. It would stick to a 5 year gap, and we go to 2011. But they had 2013, I guess, so 7 year gap. As such, none of the same characters are back. It's all different characters in this movie. Not all different actors, but all different characters. I want to make that distinction clear that there are some of the same actors. A lot of them are smaller actors who played, or at least actors that played smaller roles, but they're playing different characters. So, and this movie's parodies were Mama. Haven't heard of that. I hadn't either till this movie. Noah pointed it out. Paranormal Activity, which would be a very obvious one if you've ever seen any of those movies, and Inception. Yeah, Inception. Okay. And they couldn't even get Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, he was busy in 2013 doing Great Gatsby, but I feel like you could have had him in, just a little cameo here, but they didn't. Which is... Oh, no. It was Paranormal Activity, Inception, Mama, also Planet of the Apes. So you got 4 fucking parodies in this movie. You got Planet of the Apes, too. What the fuck? What you'll notice in this movie, is, if you watch it, is that because they are trying to parody so many different, and these are not just single movies, right? Well, except for Inception, they are franchises. These are multiple movies that they are trying to put references in for. So it's just so oversaturated, and a lot of them overlap. So that, and then they don't make any sense, and they don't do anything important, and they just kind of are there. Like, you have this whole, like, the whole plot with the poltergeist stuff, which is more Paranormal Activity level, is a completely separate plot and separate movie and almost separate characters from the Planet of the Apes plot, which is a very much B plot. They abandon it most of this movie, come back to it at the end, but it's there. Like, the only overlap between those two plots at all is Dan, because he works at the factory where they're doing the animal testing, and then he's also living in the house with the Paranormal Activity stuff. That is the only crossover at all. So anyway, like I said, I got a lot of thoughts. I already showed some thoughts, but let's just jump right into it. So there's a bunch of more. Let's talk about the opening before we jump back into the main plot. Let's jump into the opening. It's just a good maybe 20-minute sequence of just Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan. Yeah, Charlie Sheen, he's not playing the same character that he did in the third and fourth movie. He's actually just playing himself now. And you got Lindsay Lohan here playing, fucking herself as well. And there's a bunch of random references about them, a bunch of jabs at them while they're there in the movie. It's a really long intro, and I have to think that they hooked up at some point, right? They have to have hooked up at some point. It's fucking Charlie Sheen, okay? Who hasn't he hooked up with? And it's Lindsay Lohan, too. But really, did it need to be that long? Okay, At least the Dr. Phil and Shaq opening in the fourth one wasn't that long. This one takes forever. So much longer, in fact, that I felt like at some point through it, I had just missed the title sequence and we were just going to jump straight into the movie. And then the title sequence pops up. I'm like, we're like a third of the way through this thing, it feels like already. What the fuck? But then neither of them, again, like in the fourth movie and even the third one, neither of them show up after this. Neither of them do. You couldn't have at least had Charlie Sheen pop up for a couple times. I mean, he was in the third and fourth one. Even if he wasn't playing himself, he was there. Whatever. The narration guy's back. His name Earl Jones is his name, right? This the Darth Vader, really good voice narration guy. Loved him. It's great. Snoop Dogg's here. Doing his Snoop Dogg type things. I mean, Snoop Dogg. Gotta love it. Terry Crews is here. Usher also makes a brief appearance, which is crazy. And then near the end, the one girl from Modern Family also makes an appearance. And then she gets her tongue cut off by a door. So, there's that, I guess. Those are all the big, like, celebrity cameos in this one. I cannot with the fucking pregnancy test app as well. It's called iPreggers. I just wanted to walk right in the middle of the road when I saw that. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? I brought it up already, but I'll bring it up again. Mama is such an obscure movie to reference. I've never seen it. Now I kind of want to see it after seeing this movie. No one said it's a scary, pretty scary film, so okay. But then, like, again, Planet of the Apes, Paranormal Activity, and Inception. I mean, that's a lot. Like I already explained it, it's a lot to be referencing, and it's really jumped all over the place because, you know, Paranormal Activity was still going on as a franchise when this came out, and while like Planet of the Apes, like they were bringing back that franchise, but it had an established boundary already. Mama, I don't even know when that movie came out, and Inception I think was the 90s, right, or early 2000s. So that wouldn't have been around for a while too. So like you get the mix of the old and new, and it really just doesn't blend well at all. And so it's okay. I mean, it's fine. But like I said, there's just a lot of oversaturation, I feel like. Also, the ballet dance instructor guy makes some really weird pedo comments that are extremely uncomfortable. I'm not going to say what he said. You can go check that out, find it on YouTube somewhere, or just on like a random internet forum. It's offsetting, to say the least. That dream experiment scene was wild. It was like a mix of the raunchy evil bong style stuff and then like actual horror shit. And then the dog thing at the end was really funny. I gotta admit, that got a good laugh out of me. I like that one. I thought that was one of the better scenes in this movie, in fact. Holy shit. Actually, yeah, we'll talk about it. Oh, no. Well, I'll bring that up in a second. But first, I want to talk about and then there was the whole thing with, like, the people activating the curse and then those random people that they meet in the cabin, which is where the Modern Family girl comes in, and then there's, like, 3 other people there, and they all, like, turn into demons when she says the thing, and then they, like, start, like, cutting their own limbs off, and, like, that whole sequence, which is referencing what they mentioned in the dream sequence. That scene where they're activating the curse, stopping the curse, activating the curse, stopping the curse. That went on way too long. Just saying. That went on a little long. It was also gory. There wasn't a whole lot of... Across this whole franchise, even, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of gore. Not as much as I thought. There was gore, but not as much as I thought. Which is fine, but this scene in particular was a little bit more on the heavier side for gore in this whole franchise. And then I have to talk about it. I don't know where exactly, or I guess who exactly they blew their budget on with this film. But I have to talk about one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in a movie, ever. Especially for a movie. I mean, this movie's not like high quality, not like a super A-list film by any stretch of the imagination. But it's not close to the bottom either. This is definitely a higher production quality than Evil Bong. It's definitely a higher production quality than you would find in a regular Tubi movie, to be in general. Because it has the actors. They, have some sort of licensing to purchase, to be able to parody these movies. So what are we doing with the scene? It's a driving scene. But instead of just filming a car being driven to this location when they're going to this cabin and then leaving the cabin, right? Instead of just filming an overhead shot of a car driving, as they had done, not in just this movie, but every other movie in this franchise, instead, they have to do a thing where it's like a camera following, I shit you not, a remote control convertible car through like a dirt fucking path on the middle of the woods, like up and down some rocks, okay, or like through some bumpy dirt things. There's nobody in the car because it's a remote control vehicle, but they're talking as if they're in the car. I swear to God, that had to have just been a filler point, and then they were going to film the rest of it later, right? And they just had to have forgotten to, or they filmed it and they just forgot to switch it out. You cannot tell me that they did not have the budget to film. They could have just done a fucking green screen. They literally did the same thing right after this, where they actually did film a driving scene. Why was this scene where they're in the convertible going through the dirt? Why was there a remote control car? What were they doing? What were they doing? Swear, I swear, that was an exceptionally bad scene. Exceptionally bad. Not just bad, like really bad. If I was ranking the worst scenes in a movie that I have ever seen, that would definitely be in the top 10, maybe even top 5. That was terrible. It made no sense. Granted, most of the stuff in these movies don't make sense. But this really didn't make any sense. It's a basic thing, too. In the grand scheme of production for a movie or a show or anything, transition scenes like this shouldn't be this difficult. But they're also something you don't severely cheap out on. Like, what the fuck were they thinking? And then finally at the end, I want to comment on the ending, especially the fucking Lambo leap at the recital competition. I did not expect that. We didn't get a whole lot of sports parodies throughout any of these movies, except maybe Shaq. That's it. But now we get just a random ass fucking Lambo leap at the end. It was great. I hate the Packers. Fuck the Packers. But it was great. I loved seeing that. That was really funny. So, yeah. That's it for this movie. I don't really have much else to say, nor do I really want to say anything else about this movie. It's bad. It's bad. Now, movies 3 and 5, I think, will definitely find a spot on the honorable mentions list of the hardest, or not the hardest movies, the worst movies list. If not, find a spot on the list themselves. I'll probably end up tying them because they're just both so bad, and I can't distinguish like one of them. I don't want to call one of them better than the other one because they're bad. They're really bad. But I'm gonna have to. So that being said, that's going to do it for this video. If you have ever seen Scary Movie 5, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And is Scary Movie 6 really going to happen? I'd love to know more thoughts about that in the comment section down below, because we're going to be at a 13-year difference when that happens. And I'm interested to see how that's going to happen, how that's going to work. So, that being said, though, that's going to do it for this video. Stay tuned for other much more amazing content, including more movie reviews and other awesome stuff. We are done with the Scary Movie movies reviews. There will be more coming for sure, though, so stay tuned for that and other much more amazing content. Until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.